Welcome to Lyme Time. I'm Ali from the Tick Chicks. We are all more than Lyme disease and chronic illness, and together we stand with you to overcome and rise. I'll bring you closer to the experts in cutting-edge treatments and even a few unexpected ways of healing. I'll ask the questions you want answers to regarding Lyme disease and successful ways of getting you closer to 100%. We are in this together and will not be defined by Lyme. Gregg Renfrew founded BEAUTYCOUNTER, a brand dedicated to getting safer personal care and beauty products into the hands of everyone, in 2011. She launched the brand as a certified B Corporation in 2013, leading the way to better beauty by putting performance and health first. BEAUTYCOUNTER has since experienced explosive growth and is on pace to sell approximately 35 million products by the end of 2020. As CEO of BEAUTYCOUNTER, Gregg is also dedicated to setting a new health and safety standard for the beauty industry. Rare among business leaders, she is an advocate for more federal regulation, specifically for the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, to ban the use of harmful ingredients in personal care products. In December 2019, Renfrew testified as an expert witness in a congressional hearing on cosmetic reform. Under Gregg's leadership, BEAUTYCOUNTER is contributing to the rise of a modern industry built by female entrepreneurs and advocates. Her push for stronger cosmetic safety laws is providing more than 50,000 BEAUTYCOUNTER consultants, mostly women, with the opportunity to be business owners and activists. At the same time, BEAUTYCOUNTER is redefining direct selling. In what has traditionally been a single-channel industry, BEAUTYCOUNTER is direct-to-consumer through multiple channels in the U.S. and Canada. Independent consultants, online at beautycounter.com, retail locations in New York, Denver, Nantucket, and L.A., and through strategic partnerships with Sephora and Goop. Before launching BEAUTYCOUNTER, Gregg established herself as a retail leader. She sold her successful bridal registry company, The Wedding List, to Martha Stewart Living in 2001. She then led new concept, brand, marketing, merchandising, and operational consulting engagements with Bergdorf Goodman, Goldie Hawn and Kate Hudson, Intermix, Sugar Paper, Lila Rose, and Jessica Alba, among other high-profile corporate and entertainment clients. Gregg has spoken at Vanity Fair's Founders Fair and Fortune's Most Powerful Women Next Gen Summit, as well as top business schools including Wharton, Tuck, Stanford, and Columbia. In 2014, Renfrew was named one of Fast Company's most creative people. In 2018, Gregg was named on Inc.'s Female Founders 100 list and was also honored on Goldman Sachs' Most Intriguing Entrepreneurs list. In 2019, Renfrew became a member of Fast Company's Impact Council. She currently serves on the Nantucket Project Fellow Committee and previously served on the boards of numerous organizations. Gregg lives in LA with her husband and 3 children. BEAUTYCOUNTER is the leader in the safer skin and cleaner cosmetics category. The Santa Monica, California-based brand drives a national movement for improved transparency and accountability in the beauty industry, including advocacy to update federal regulations that have stood largely unchanged since 1938. The company's mission is to get safer products into the hands of everyone. BEAUTYCOUNTER develops and distributes approximately 150 products across skincare, color cosmetics, advanced anti-aging, kids, baby, and personal care collections. BEAUTYCOUNTER has received numerous awards, including Fast Company's Most Innovative Companies, CNBC's Disruptor 50, Allure's Best of Beauty, and Glamour's Beauty Awards. So, without further ado, we welcome Gregg. Hi, Gregg.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Where are you calling in from?
I am in Sun Valley, Idaho right now. So,
thank you so much for taking the time and being with us today. I know our listeners are on pins and needles. Just they're big fans of yours, obviously, because we come from the non-toxic world, and a lot of our fan base has pure, just total reactions when they use
just not clean products on their face and their body. And we're all still learning about it. And so we're just very, very humbled and grateful that you can be here. Before I go any further, I'd like to tell our listeners just what an incredible person you are. Gregg and I met originally many years ago when you first moved to LA. And I really have come to love and respect the way that you not only make a damn good product, but the way you are giving back, the way you are educating our consumers, the way you are fighting for our rights at Capitol Hill. It's just the body of work that you've done is so impressive. And I'm very lucky that, we're neighbors, we're friends, our kids are friends. And I would just, it was a small act of God that I got this interview. So I really appreciate you giving us your time.
Wow.
And before we start, I would like to say, because I will forget to say this, I love your products. We have them on our website because we're just all big fans of BeautyCounter. My favorites happen to be the Lotus Cleansing Balm, which I use every single night, the Countermatch Adaptive Face Lotion. Again, I use it at night only, love that, and the Overnight Surfacing Peel, which, it's just, you make great stuff, and I'm a huge fan.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I want to jump right in with you, Gregg. Let's start with the life experiences that contributed to your desire to begin your own beauty line, BeautyCounter, and how you came about to clean beauty and what all inspired that.
So for me, it really was a several-year journey. I, at the urging of a really close friend, Leila Rose, watched a film called The Inconvenient Truth back in 2006. And for whatever reason, that film was a real wake-up call for me. It was the first time that I began to become aware of the fact that we were doing things as a world that was, truly detrimental to the earth. And subsequent to that, I was living in New York City. I was a relatively new mom, and I was watching so many of my friends around me being diagnosed with different types of illnesses, including cancer. I watched my best friend struggle with fertility issues. I had a number of friends who had given birth to kids with pretty significant health issues, and a caregiver in our home who was taking care of our oldest daughter, Phoebe, was diagnosed at the age of 31 with a non-HPV related cervical cancer and died in my arms 11 months later. And all of these things, my watching the film, recognizing that we were doing things that were detrimental to the earth, watching things that were happening all around me, made me start to consider what was the connection between things that were detrimental to the earth and human health. And I began to realize that we were being exposed to toxic chemicals. And so, again, over a several-year period, I started to make sweeping, I started with sweeping changes. Like I started to recycle. I changed plastic containers to glass when I changed my nonstick pans to regular stainless steel. But when it came to skincare and personal care products, I found that there weren't really products on the market that met my needs. I could find all those traditional brands that I'd always used, known and loved, that were from the mass market to the luxury market and everything in between. But they were filled with chemicals that I knew now were concerning to health. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I was looking at all of these sort of earthy, crunchy brands that were great, but they were really being marketed as eco-friendly, but didn't necessarily remove the chemicals of concern and didn't really perform in the way that I wanted to. And so I saw an opportunity to make a difference by educating, by creating higher performing, high performing, also much safer products, and to try to lead the whole beauty industry into a better place.
That's such an inspirational story. I mean, my heart is breaking thinking about you with your many, many friends and loved ones losing their lives, and yet, even though we all know better right now, we still continue to consume a lot of the bad stuff. And I just, it's just affecting all of us, and especially those in the chronic illness community. We have a lot of people that react to Lyme disease and chronic illness with major rash situations, hair loss, sensitivities to anything they put on their body. And have you ever known anybody with Lyme disease or chronic illness that just absolutely couldn't tolerate these kinds of products?
I've known I grew up on the East Coast, and I know quite a few people who have had Lyme disease. Some were lucky enough to have caught it really early, and therefore were able to take care of it, and others who have been battling with this disease for many years. And yes, I know that there has been all the things you've said: heightened sensitivity, hair loss, et cetera, et cetera. And we find that not even just specific to those with Lyme disease, but many people who their lives have been impacted greatly by being consistently exposed to chemicals of concern, whether that is coming in their washing detergent on their clothing, or whether it's coming in their form of personal care products. So I have certainly experienced this time and time again. In fact, a completely little anecdote, side story, a year or so ago, I took a car service outside of Boston, Massachusetts, when I had flown in, and met this man who, was an incredibly curious man, an incredibly intelligent man. And he said that he had never gone to university. And I asked him, why was it? Was it an economic reason? And he said, no, actually, I suffered my entire life from extreme migraine headaches. And I came to find out as a grown man that it was because of the chemicals in the washing detergent and the personal care products that my parents unknowingly had put on my body every day. And so the trajectory of that man's life, because of its exposure to toxic chemicals, was completely impacted. And so I do find we hear time and time again when people switch to BeautyCounter or other safer products that it really alleviates some of the symptoms that they have been dealing with for quite some time.
Absolutely. And we'll get to your men's products later, but I love the fact that you're branching out with and expanding on the men's line. So we talk a lot about sort of radical awakenings and moments in time where you just peeled off and went in a completely different direction with your life. Was there a moment in your life where you made a conscious decision to help society do better? Was there a personal awakening that you had within yourself that just, one moment you just decided to just go all in?
Yeah. I think that there have been several of those moments in my life. I think that when life happens, things, change the course of your life. And I think that one of those specific moments was really when I turned 40, which sadly was more than a few years ago. But when I turned 40, I had enjoyed a relatively successful professional career. I had 3 children. I had a husband whom I love and continue to love most of the time. We were fighting last night, but I'm sure we all have our moments, but in general, we're pretty solid. I think by most standards, I had a successful life. And I thought to myself, for whatever reason, as people do in sort of milestone birthdays, if I died tomorrow, would I have accomplished all that I could on this earth? And the answer was no. And so I've always believed in, even from when I was, significantly younger, the idea that you can do well and do good simultaneously. In my other companies that I had started and work that I had done, it was always, how do you use commerce as an engine for change to make the world better for everyone? And so when I turned 40, I started to think about, the future of commerce, how to protect the earth for future generations. How do we make, create businesses that actually do good work? And I think for me, that was one of those moments. And I think subsequent to that, when I first started BeautyCounter, I really, I realized that I wasn't as open-minded as an individual in terms of, or not even open-minded, that I didn't understand people as well as I do today. And I remember having a conversation with my mother about, who might represent our company and how did we move this brand forward. And, she said, do you want to create a movement for a small group of people, Gregg, or do you want to create a movement for everyone? And do you want to embrace all women and men and hopefully lead in an inspirational and accessible way for all? And I think that I've learned so much through my years at BeautyCounter. And I think there was a moment in time where I flipped that switch in that conversation with my mother to say, we actually can create a movement for all people, and I can be a better person, and I hopefully can lead by example. And so that has, I think, really for the last 8 years of my life been a driving force to how do I open and help others open up their minds to all different types of people and realize that in general in life, we all care about the same things and that people are good. And that if we join forces and use our collective voice, that we can make the world better for everyone. And that's something that I continue to work on every day.
I love that story. I love the fact that your mom, must have been just such an inspiration to you and just had your back all the way through and helped you bat ideas back and forth. And I love the end results. Of course, you are an inspiration, and you are a means of change for all of us. Can you share with us some stats on what we're up against here with regard to the cosmetic and beauty industry? Like, how sick are the products currently sold in the U.S.?
So I think that, if one of the things that was a shocking statistic that I learned quite some time ago now is that the European Union, I don't know, well over a decade ago, probably now 15 years or so ago, had banned and or restricted approximately 1,400 ingredients from the personal care industry in the European Union. Whereas when I started BeautyCounter, the United States had only banned 11 ingredients. And since I launched BeautyCounter in March of 13, the U.S. has now banned 30, but yet we're still dangerously far behind the times. I was also really surprised to learn that we hadn't updated a major federal law regulating a $60+ billion industry since 1938, and that the legislation that does exist is part of the Federal Food, Drugs, and Cosmetics Act. And it's 1.5 pages. And I think there was a brief moment in time where Americans were protected, under Roosevelt's presidential, moment in time. And in that act, we were protected for a second. But what happened was post-World War II, we introduced many tens of thousands of chemicals into commerce, some which are completely safe for health, but less than 10% of those, I think approximately 90,000 chemicals, less than 10% have ever been tested for safety on human health. And that was really alarming for me. Someone equates that to, would you get on an airline if they less than 10% of the parts on the plane and the planes themselves were tested for safety? No, you would never get on that plane. And I think that Americans are being unnecessarily subjected to toxic chemicals because of the lack of regulation. And additionally, I think that one of the things that has been a misperception by American citizens, and certainly I was one of those, is that the FDA has the ability to protect us. And the FDA does in terms of food. But when it comes to personal care and cosmetics, they actually are not screening chemicals for safety before they're incorporated into products. And they do not have the power to recall products if that product is known to be harmful to health. What I will say, Alicia, is that not all products on the market are harmful. And if I were a consumer, I would be looking for products that are fragrance-free because many of the harmful chemicals are found in fragrance. I would be looking more towards those that are natural, that say things like we're paraben-free, we're phthalate-free. But so not all products are bad, but I do think that our government is asking the average consumer to navigate murky waters with probably no understanding of the ingredients on the back of the labels. And that to me is unacceptable. And that's what we've been fighting to change.
Yeah, absolutely. The parabens, don't even get me started. That's just, it reminds me a little bit about, your fight against the FDA is similar to our fight. And we go head to head with the CDC, just kind of like, hey, there's an epidemic going on out here and our voices need to be heard. And so we can relate a lot to everything that you're saying. And obviously, I don't know if you have any stats on these chemicals actually causing diseases within the community.
We know that some of the chemicals incorporated into personal care products are known carcinogens. For example, formaldehyde has been a preservative that's been used over the years. It used to be used in baby shampoo, and that's a known carcinogen. We know that phthalates, which are the chemicals that bind the perfume, like the scent to your skin, they're also used in cars and in vinyl shower curtains. And when you get that car and it has that new car smell, unfortunately, those are the phthalates that help that smell. And we know that those chemicals very closely mimic your endocrine system. And so the endocrine system doesn't necessarily know to reject them. And so it can really wreak havoc on your system. One of the things that we know, having looked at the past 25 years of research from leading universities, from nonprofit organizations, from chemists and green chemists and labs, is that there are chemicals of concern that are linked to these health issues. What we don't know, and probably will never know, at least, or certainly don't know today, is the moment in time when a cell goes from being healthy to unhealthy, or what the exact trigger point is. We just know, and I always say, if you have the opportunity to err on the side of being cautious and to just remove those chemicals of concern, because we don't know that second in time, but we do know the cumulative exposure to chemicals absolutely is wreaking havoc on people's health. And I think that and that's been said time and time again. The average American uses approximately 12 personal care products. And what people will argue from oftentimes is, well, small doses don't matter. But the reality is, what we don't know is the combination. So if you got up in the morning this morning, I'm sitting in it's summertime, you've brushed your teeth, you've taken a shower, you've put soap on your body, you put sunscreen on your body, you put tinted moisturizer on your face and lotion on your body. All those chemicals in conjunction with one another over many, many decades can have an impact. And so we're just asking people we're trying to educate people so that at least they can make informed choices and help avoid, as a company, the chemicals that are of concern.
I know you do so much work on Capitol Hill, Gregg. Can you tell us a bit about, the progress that you have made and what issues you're currently tackling?
Yes. I think that we feel that as a company that we will do our part to, we've pioneered and led the clean beauty movement within the beauty industry. And we're proud of our efforts in the business that we've built. Our mission is to get safer products into the hands of everyone. Our mission is not to get BeautyCounter products into the hands of everyone, because they're inaccessible to many. And we know no matter what, we would never be able to reach people, or all people. So from the beginning, since we launched, we used our collective voice of our community at large, our corporate team, our independent consultants who sell our product, our clients and friends of the brand, to advocate for cosmetic reform. We've held approximately 1,000 meetings on the Hill on both sides of the aisle. We've met on both the state and federal level with legislators, members of Congress. We even got all the way to the former vice president's office. We've been really trying to say this is an issue that needs to be addressed. It is a bipartisan issue. It has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with protecting the health of American citizens. And we do know and feel that there is support on both the Republican and Democratic parties. Where it's been challenging is determining who has the final say. Is it the state? Is it the federal government? And we see this time and time again. But I've been encouraged to see that, in the past year, that the House of Representatives has introduced a bill that we hope will move to the floor. I was asked to be the sole representative for the beauty industry to testify in front of Congress, which was an enormous honor on behalf of our entire community. And BeautyCounter has been involved in approximately 13 clean beauty laws. We worked with the state of Hawaii to ban certain chemicals that are, killing the coral reefs. We work again on the state and federal level to protect salon workers, et cetera, because we believe that every citizen in the United States should have access to safer products, and that will not happen until there are new laws and cosmetic reform.
Amazing. Amazing. I imagine that a lot of people are listening to this that are in our community who can no longer, or for the time being, work in an office setting or be doing anything regarding heavy lifting, or just, whatever their position was before. They're finding themselves having a lot of downtime. And I was thinking that, can you tell us a little bit about how BeautyCounter itself is structured, and how our listeners might be open to joining the team if they want to work from home? And also, let's talk about those men products too. And are you enlisting male associates at this time?
Yeah, so I think that we are in a moment in time where so many people are forced to work from home, whether that's they themselves have significant health issues, or they are caregivers too. I know I've spent a lot of time over the years talking with Maria Shriver about Alzheimer's, and how there's this shift where people are now also having to care for those who are also battling all these health issues. And so there's a significant need for flexibility of time and an ability to potentially work from home. Beauty Counter is a direct-to-consumer brand that we always say has been powered by people and for people. And we make our products available to our clients through our community of independent consultants. So we have approximately 60,000 people in the US and Canada who are currently representing the brand, who are building businesses independently as consultants with us. And I can speak to that. We have our e-commerce platform. We have our stores in New York and Denver and now Los Angeles. And we have partnerships that we enjoy. We currently are enjoying one with a pop-up with Sephora, and we've done them with Target before. Specific to the independent consultants, we welcome women and men who want an opportunity to potentially build a business with us. We have more women by far than men, but we do have a men's line, and the number of men that have been joining us has been increasing, as have the number of college age students and those that have just graduated. Given the pandemic that's been happening with COVID, we've seen a number of younger people joining who are either replacing summer internships or trying to build a resume while they work. But it is an opportunity that you join and you can buy a digital starter kit for $50, and then you either choose or not to choose to buy the products, but you're able to use the digital medium through Zoom, through Facebook or Instagram, or texting or calling your friends, or having people over to say, these are products that I believe in and I want to sell them. And those people will earn a commission on what they sell. It's hard work like anything else. There's no guarantee that anyone's going to make money, but most people find it to be, a rewarding business opportunity, because it allows them to potentially earn good money. And that can be defined by someone as $50 a month or $5,000 a month or whatever. That's different for every single person, while also being part of a community of people that are really trying to affect change and are also really supportive of one another. I actually bumped into a woman 2 nights ago in Idaho who was telling me that she joined Beauty Counter because she had been a teacher and then had been battling breast cancer for the past 2 years, and found that community of other women who were either currently or had previously battled breast cancer, and they found that they could create something positive about something that had been very negative in their life, and they were there to educate others, to hope that maybe through education, maybe one less person would be diagnosed. They were able to earn while they were going through treatment from the comfort and safety of their home. And those are the stories that make me feel good, because there are others out there. And I think, because of what you're doing, Alicia, that people thrive on having community around them, of people that are like-minded, that also understand some of the challenges that people are facing, whether that's illness, whether that's financial insecurity, whatever it is. And I think that is one of the things that we've been able to provide, is both a business opportunity and also a community of people who understand some of the challenges.
Absolutely. I know that there is empowerment in sharing and being in part of a community. And if your associates have that, are armed with information and doing good stuff for good people, I think it's a win-win. It's a feel-good relationship that they will have with themselves, as well as with anybody that they come in contact with and talk about your products with. I think it's really just such a good layout for everyone. Is there anything, as we wrap this up, is there anything you'd like our listeners to know about, any final words or thoughts about what you're doing?
I think, not specific to us, but just to help, better. I've always said that Beauty Counter has been built on 3 pillars. We educate, we formulate, using commerce as an engine for change, and we advocate. And I think that trifecta has what's really powered our movement. For those who are new to this issue of chemicals of concern in personal care products, I would just encourage people to do a little bit of homework. We have something on the beautycounter.com website called our Never List. It's a list of ingredients that we choose never to formulate with. You can actually print it out and use it as you shop the market, so that you can avoid chemicals of concern that you might not even know how to identify. I think that I would also encourage people, whenever possible, to shop fragrance free, because, as I said earlier, many of the most offensive chemicals can oftentimes, and that at least is one protective measure, no matter where you're shopping, no matter what product you're buying. I do also want people to know that this is not a women's health issue. This is, in my opinion, a a global health issue. It is about women. It's about men. It's about those that are young and those that are old. It's not specific to any one group of people. And to whatever extent people want to get involved, even if it's just this action, you can also text #BetterBeauty to 52886 and tell or pick up the phone and call your member of Congress on your respective state to say, we believe that this is an issue that needs to be addressed, and we're asking for cosmetic reform to protect the health of everyone. And so I'm always asking people, to help us advocate, because we need as many voices, to really hopefully change the laws. And so I think that's an important. And I just want to say that I think the work that you all are doing and helping educate and building community is incredibly important. We're in a moment in time where I think the three things that I find people care about most in all the conversations I'm having with the many women and men who represent us is that we care about protecting the health and safety of ourselves and those we love. We're looking for financial stability to the extent that we can. And so we always try to create a platform upon which people can find business opportunities, and that community is more important than ever. And we need to share information. We need to rely on each other. And that as women and men, we need to lift each other up. And that's an opportunity that we all have as people right now. And I know what you all are doing is meaningful to many. And I try to, play my small part as well.
Thank you so much over and over and over again for your just willingness to come and talk to us for just even a few minutes, Gregg. And I want to tell everyone, for more information, again, please visit beautycounter.com. You will find the latest about all the products and what Gregg is doing at that website. You can also follow along on social channels, which would be Instagram @BeautyCounter, Twitter @BeautyCounterHQ, Facebook @BeautyCounterHQ, and YouTube @BeautyCounter. And next time you're visiting the tickchicks.com, we've got all of her products right there because we believe in them. We will never support another line because we just believe in them so much. And I'm a faithful user. So thanks again, Gregg, for your time. We love and appreciate every second that we got with you today.
Well, thank you, Alicia. I really appreciate it too. Lots of love.
Bye.